Cold out there.
It is. You guys are kind of the faithful few tonight. Between the election and the rain, it's I gotta be the mailman. Stay at home.
I seldom see you come to the Tuesday night, so I'm glad you're here.
Did you come to the board meeting? All right, are we ready?
Good evening, everyone. You are the faithful few. All those people that we put the Atherton network in are probably at home watching, either that or election results. And I've found that watching election results, you can either be greatly overjoyed or greatly depressed. So anyway, I'm hoping that being here, you won't have those same experiences tonight. So, so Martha Beyer asked, she was supposed to be the hostess tonight, and she said, with it cold and just getting out, I can't carry an umbrella and my walker and everything like that. Well, it's not raining out there, that's good news. But anyway, I said, well, I'll just become the MC tonight too. Since I'm doing the presentation, I can become the MC too. So I don't have a joke though, I'm sorry about that. So, but we have 3 people tonight that we want to give birthday greetings and sing happy birthday to. The first one is Violet Yamamoto, and I believe she's here. Linda Giller also has a birthday. And then, I gotta get my paper here. There we go. And then Joyce Karuma has a birthday. So let's sing happy birthday to them. Ready? Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, God bless you. Happy birthday to you, and many more. There we go, very good. Well, I'm happy to be here. So most of you know that last week, on last Friday, we did our annual or our quarterly business meeting. And so today I'm going to share with you a little bit about some of the things we talked about, some of the things that we're in the process of doing. Most of you are kind of aware of what's going on around the campus. If you have any questions, feel free to ask. We're just going to kind of work our way through that. But before we do that, let me start with a word of prayer. Gracious Father, thank you so much for Atherton, for this wonderful community, for these wonderful people. We ask you especially to be with us, to bless us, to guide us, and to help us as we seek to honor you and live out our purpose here in Alhambra. Thank you for our friends that are gathered here, for the friends that are at home that are listening. May the things that we say and share enrich all of our lives. We pray that in your name. Amen. Amen. All right. So I always start a board meeting. Let's see if I can get this working, hopefully. There we go. By sharing the Atherton mission, values, and vision. And I think that's important for us to constantly share. I do this with the staff. I do this with the board. I do this with the residents because I want them to remember this is why we exist. This is why we do what we do. So the mission of Atherton is to be a senior living community rooted in Christian values, enriching lives, and honoring all. And our vision is to continue Hannah's vision of honoring those who have served in Christian ministry. And our values that we seek to impart and seek to share both from the residents to the staff and from the staff to the residents and from all those around to the families are faith, kindness, gratitude, and joy. And so that's at the core of who we are, what we hope to convey, hope people's experience here, whether they work here or whether they live here, are all surrounded in that context, those values. So when I came and spoke to you last time with an annual report at the end, in the middle of August, I said, how is Atherton doing? And this is what I said. I believe Atherton is healthy. Our occupancy is solid and on budget. Our financials are on budget, but our investments are down. We're still dealing with the pandemic. We have one project in construction and several others are still in planning. So that was, in essence, the core of the report. Okay? This is the core of the report tonight. Atherton is healthy. Our occupancy is solid and on budget. Our financials are on budget. Investments are down. We're still dealing with the pandemic. Projects in construction, others in consideration and planning. Thank you very much. It was a great night. Not much has changed in the last 3 months. You've seen a few things, you're going to see a few things, but as a whole, Atherton is about the same place it was as it's been all year. It's healthy. It's a healthy institution. And even with the ups and downs that we've had, different kinds of ways, Atherton has remained healthy. So when we look at the census, so over here, this is where we were at the end of the third quarter. As of the end of September, so we had what we call regular classic. We had 167 units and 154 were full. In the courtyard, 49 of the 50 were full. In assisted living, companion care, 30 of the 36 were full. And skilled nursing, 84 of the beds were full. This is how we built our budget. So every year, we certain numbers of we decide how many units we think we're going to fill, and then how much revenue we're going to get from that, and then that we try and match our expenses, match our revenue, so that we don't have to out-expend. That's basically what it is. So these were all our targets. So you can see that we're ahead of target there, we're ahead of target there, we're behind a little bit there, and we're just barely behind. If you ask me today where we're at 155 with 6 moving in by at least the middle of February. We're at 49 with 1 moving in. We're at 31 with 3 moving in, and we're at 85. So we're right on. In fact, today when I did a calculation, what it said was that in independent living, 94% of the units are full. Okay? In senior living, if you have 95% of your units full, you're considered completely full. And the reason that is because there's always that 5% of units that are turning over. You're getting them ready, you're selling them to the market. So if you're not over 95%, or if you're close to 95%, you're full. We're very close to that. We're very close to that, and the team has done a great job. So in terms of occupancy and sales, we're in a really healthy place. And that translates into pretty good financial numbers for us. What this basically says up here is, these are the revenues, and you can see that they're just a little bit behind from last year, but not much. These are the expenses. Expenses are about $1 million more this year than they were last year. Part of that reason is because last year when we had COVID, we actually were able to downsize for a little bit because we didn't have as many people. So there weren't as many costs. And you don't have as many people in skilled nursing now. You're not bringing in as many revenue, but you're also don't have as much cost. And so that's why those costs were a little bit lower. This year the numbers have been higher, and so that's why those costs are higher. But all that basically means that we're still healthy, we're what would be called profitable. We have more money, our revenues are better than our expenses. Then we have a bunch of things down here. And so when you look at our net operating income, it's about $1 million above what we thought it would be. That's really good. That's a really healthy place for us to be. Then you have what you call your non-operating revenue. About $4 million in the red. That's our investments, the money that's in the stock market. And just like your portfolio, which doesn't look as good this year as it did last year, our portfolio doesn't look as good. And the big swing you can kind of look and see here. So last year we were up about 4 million at this time. This year we're down about 3 million at this time. Okay? So, but as long as we don't sell those, we're fine. And we're slowly working our way through this. Stock market's been up a little bit the last couple of weeks. We'll see how it ends at the end of the year. I did tell our portfolio manager, I said, could you make sure that we're up at the end of the quarter rather than always down? At the end of July, we took it down. At the end of September, we took it down. Could we end the year being up instead of down? And he said, I'll work on that. So nonetheless, how does that affect the bottom line of that? I've said we're healthy financially, and yet you see that number, and that looks pretty ugly. So how does that affect the bottom line? Well, that's really what these charts show. So days cash on hand is a way for Atherton to talk about its savings account. If I talk to you about your savings, the money that you've got in the bank, you have a certain amount of money in there. The way Atherton calculates that is how many days money do we have in the bank? How many days could we go if there was not another dollar It's just out of Halloween, everybody went out, trick-or-treating, everybody did all that. That's what started 2 years ago when we started all that. We'll see. But anyway, that's kind of that. Questions about it? Oh yeah, I'm gonna make a decision. I'm gonna actually write it in this next coming out. Yeah, even if I don't, you can have family over for Christmas. Right. Yes. If you wanted to use one of the venues, it would first come, first served, but yes, you could do that. Yes. It would be limited, so I'm limiting this to 20. Now, there are some rooms, like this room is limited to 20, but there are some rooms that are smaller that we would limit to, say, 10, because that's all that room can hold in a reasonable thing. This room could hold 80 to, 70 to 80 people, but we still would limit it to 20. So that's kind of how that is to work around that. That's the idea we're working around. Yes.
I just told the office, and they said, no.
No, it wasn't cleared yet. That's right. I'm just talking it through with you, and hopefully, when it comes out in the Athertonian, it'll become the policy. Okay, that's the publication we use to describe what's yes and no on that. And I plan to put that in this week. Providing that something doesn't change radically in LA County about the number of cases. Yes. Right. Yeah. So they're predicting right now that it's going to be a bad flu season. If you haven't gotten your flu shot, please go and get your flu shot. We're encouraging them. We did a little event. We did a little event here today with staff, talking to them about health insurance, and we also had a clinic, and they could get their flu shot while they're there. We're encouraging and trying to get as many of them to get flu shots. You're supposed to. The way the stick that the county used to use about flu shot was, if you don't get a flu shot, you have to wear a mask all the time. Well, we'll wear masks all the time anyway, so it doesn't work as a very good stick anymore. So we have to look for more carrots to use now. Like, we think this is really good, and you don't want to get sick. We aren't offering money yet, but that may be the next thing. Just trying to keep people. And again, it's like COVID. The COVID vaccine didn't keep people from getting COVID. People still got COVID, but it kept them from getting seriously ill. The strain of the flu vaccine may not keep you from getting flu, but it probably will keep you from getting as sick. That's just my expectation. There's no guarantees, but that's kind of my expectation. So anyway, encourage you. Any other questions about that? Okay. So, I don't know when we stop dealing with the pandemic. I really don't know. The governor has said by the end of September, he's to declare the emergency done. Unless it's a bad season, but as a whole, he's going to say that this is done. So I don't know what that's going to mean for us. I don't know what it's going to mean for skilled nursing. I don't have any idea how all that plays itself out. The bigger issue for us is, especially in skilled nursing, is the state is giving a supplement to all skilled nursing residents in order for care, and they're going to take that away. And so that is a financial hit to the budget that we will put that in to do that. But I don't know how all that plans to play out. Okay. So the next thing is the new projects. And so you can kind of see here, there's 4 projects that are kind of on the board we're working at. And then at the last meeting, we talked about some others that I'll talk about. The first one is the duplex. Okay. And it was going along really well until God decided to water everything for the last couple of days. So anyway, but this gives you, about 3 years ago, we actually started this. This is a little bit of thing that shows you how far we've come on that project. So that's kind of where it sits now. So anyway, they framed it in one day. About 2 days, maybe. They get up with that, and the residents of Irving Terrace. So John, was that out your window?
Yeah, well, no, the pictures were not, but I thank you for the view that we had. I've been able to watch the whole thing out of my dining room window.
That's right. So anyway, yeah, so anyway, it's coming along. So when we started, I told the board, when they came in August, we were just getting ready to start. They came this time, and it was framed. When they come in February, it will be almost complete. So it's just that by mid-February it'll be done. The date was February 7th. The rain has kind of changed some things. We'll see how much that changes the timetable, but that's a piece of that. There. This is a drawing. This is what we're calling the plaza renovation. So remember that I talked to you earlier about redoing the area in front of the cafe and making that, trying to do something with that to make it a little bigger, what we come to know as we're calling a plaza in there. And so this kind of gives you an idea. This is what it looks like now, and I want you to know that the architect is keeping the trees, including the big tree. Now, next week, that tree is going to get a haircut, okay? And some of its branches are way out too far, so it's going to have to be taken back a little bit. But all those trees are going to get a haircut. Some of those trees get a haircut every year because of Christmas. But that tree is they're going to send somebody up to the very top, and then he'll slowly work around that and do that. But it'll still be in place, and that's actually this canopy is over there. And so what's going to happen is all of this area, all the grass, almost all the grass is coming out. And it's all going to get leveled out. And then they're going to put pavers all the way through that. And then we're going to add some more tables around here. In addition to that, the staircase that goes to the cafe here is going to get taken down. Okay? And there's going to be 2 ramps then. One that goes in and one that goes out. There. And so we're going to add both pieces of that. You'll have a way to get in with your wheelchair, with your walkers, and you'll have a way to get out with your walkers. You won't have to go through that. So that all of those are pieces of this, and you're going to hear more about this. It's kind of, if you want to see, we're going to put some lights out there and probably do some outdoor dining if we can. There's actually going to be a nice station right here. It's going to be a place where we can do outdoor serving, outdoor cooking and finishing, much like what we did during the COVID when we were over here in the wellness garden, where we could serve little meals and do that. We want to do more of that out there in that area. And the reason this works so well here is because the kitchen, the Atherton kitchen, is right here. And so if they need something, rather than walking across the campus from the wellness garden all the way, they walk right out of here and right into this door and in there. And so we can do a lot of stuff where it's just easy access to do that. And so all of that is going to be working on. So sometime in the spring, we'll begin working on that project with that. And that's in conjunction with the renovation of Hannah's Cafe. This is called Hannah's Cafe renovation. And you can kind of see that this area, which is a library area, is going to be taken off. There'll be more cooking facilities, more things that we can do there. So we can do fresh sandwiches. We can do a couple of different entrees there. We'll be doing different kinds of things. I think they're even going to have a small quick pizza oven that you can do that if you like those kinds of things to do that. And then, yes. Yes. Well, Ruby and the kitchen. Ruby, Ruby is the one that cooks everything in there now. So Ruby will continue to be doing that, but there'll be some others that participate. Yes? Well, she will, yeah. She may not be aware of all that because she's not aware of all these things, but it's a part of that. So this area will continue to be the library. There will be some new bookshelves here, and we'll continue to give this a library feel. But I'm also in the process of trying to work out something else with the library. I may relocate the library. I have an idea, but I'm not ready to announce that or jump to that because there's just a lot of different things, a lot of moving pieces on that. But, I know that, real quick, I know that as a whole, the library means something to an awfully lot of people. I understand that, and I don't plan to do away with the library in any kind of way. But I do need more facilities here to be able to manage the number of people that want to use, that want entrees and different things coming out of the cafe. So that's part of this. If that means relocating the library, then we're gonna, it may take me a little bit longer to do than what this is gonna do, but we intend to do that. Yes, ma'am?
And what happened to your coffee shop?
So this is still a coffee shop.
Okay, so in the morning, before we could get there,
Uh-huh,
we'll use that as a coffee shop.
right.
Can we request storage, because we have monthly, centerpieces, they're disappearing, I don't know what they want.
So you will have some shelving
Oh, yeah.
somewhere in here. There could be shelving here that'll be all yours, and you can store stuff. There's a coffee center here, maybe underneath there, you can have all your coffee supplies and everything. Once the coffee is made here, there will be carafes that will be set up so people can get coffee here, or they can walk across and get it over here.
Right now, the dining room is making our coffee, before we used to make it before.
Right.
But with COVID, the dining room started making our coffee. Are they still gonna make the coffee?
I don't know, do you want them to make the coffee? Okay, they'll still make the coffee. I don't know.
I mean, we just haven't talked to find out.
Yeah.
What?
And the reality is that Hannah's Cafe, or the coffee shop, Holy Ground, the coffee shop, has not been Holy Ground for 3 years. I mean, it hasn't been in this, in any of this space. It's the front, that's right, and now it's over here in the courtyard and doing that. And we just had to do that because that space was so small. The hope is that, yes, we get back to all this. This is where all of that happens. This is where we do all of those kinds of things again, and you have that space. But it had, again, I think sometime this summer, at some point, even though for most people would say the pandemic is done, I think we'll be able to say the pandemic is done. But you still may have small accommodations, even at that, to wear masks and do different kinds of things in skilled nursing and places like that. There still may be those issues for us, whether I like it or not, because that may just be the way. I don't know that I'll ever go on another airplane again without masks. Maybe everybody else will, but that's how I am. But the masking is now going to be a part of the culture of senior living, especially in the most acute areas, which is skilled nursing and common assisted living. And that's just the reality of the world that we now in. So anyway, but the hope is to get back, use all these facilities in that kind of way, that this would be a little small dining area that you can get your food here, you could go outside, you can eat outside, or you can come over here and you can eat. This one table setup is basically, you guys said we don't like that, so there'll be a couple small tables that are in here as opposed to one table. And there may be small tables in here. This is actually a display table, but we may bring that back and have that in here. So, and you remember the old coffee shop, there's actually 2 tables right here. We have tables in here, we have tables in here. And they'll probably, there won't be as much here because you're going to take your food up here. Okay, but we'll see how it's all going to work. Yes, ma'am.
They have this coffee all day long. I mean, people can have coffee in the afternoon.
We're going to try it.
Yeah.
We're going to try it, as long as we don't burn it.
Someone in the kitchen is staff it, because right now, we only staff 8:30 to 10:30.
Right. So that's part of it. That's part of it. We're trying to see if we can figure out how to do that. If there'll be enough participation that we can leave somebody over there. Remember that any person that I put in a specific place, I have to pay. And if they're doing nothing, then you're basically paying for them to do nothing. And so we try and work out to do that. Our intention would be to be able to have the cafe there at noon and at dinner where people could go and get stuff for either of those meals. And then at the afternoon, they could come over and get a cup of coffee, and there would be somebody there. There might be some pastries that would be there, or they could get a soda or something like that. That it would work like that. And if there's enough activity there to do that, then we can afford to do that. If there's not enough activity, then it becomes very difficult.
Look, it's that pay as you go, so if you go there, right now, everything is free, you get dollars a copy, and it works out. But if you start charging, I don't know that people want to pay in the afternoon.
Well, we'll see.
Because that's what happened to the vending.
Yeah.
People didn't use it.
Well, they didn't, yeah, the staff actually used it, the residents didn't use them, that's right, that's why we got rid of them. Right, and we'll see,
I don't want someone to stand there.
I know, and we'll see. But if there's enough interest for us to begin to do those kinds of things, then we'll keep doing them. And we'll be able to do 2 meals as opposed to 1 meal there. And if there's enough interest. Now, the coffee might be fine, and maybe we could just leave it open. We won't worry about it. You know, people can come and they can grab a cup of coffee or something, or maybe we'll put a small machine there where you can hit a button and you get a cup of coffee. You know, you get a decent cup of coffee or whatever it is. Or maybe the kitchen can make carafes and they can just have them over there, and people want to go and get a cup of coffee. They can do. There's a number of ideas to try and do that may or may not have staff. But the idea is to have more access, not less. The idea is to create something where people can go, where they can have more access, where they can have another amenity that's on a regular basis that they can use. That's the idea behind it. Okay. So theoretically, this is supposed to start maybe in December. Having said that, I say all that, and what is it? Today's May 8th. And I asked my contractor the other day if they contacted you. He said, no, I haven't heard from them yet. So I'm not sure, but I'm hopeful. But anyway, it'll take about 3 months. So coffee is going to be coffee is going to probably be in the courtyard for the next 4 to 5 months. Bowling grounds is going to be there because the front may be torn up and so okay. 2023 budget. So the other thing we talked about, just a couple other things real quick. Number one, we talked about the 2023 budget, and I know as a whole this probably doesn't mean a lot to you, but we expect revenues of about almost $25 million next year, and expenses of about $22 million. We're on the projection for this year is about 24.5, and expenses are about 20 million here. And last year, this is where we were. Well, this is this year. I'm sorry. This is projected. This is where we budgeted last year at 24 and 21. So we're going to come in probably under in expenses. Our revenues look like they're going to be a little bit ahead of what they were, and so we kind of did those kinds of things in it. What that does is that you kind of see that when you work through all the calculations, the costs have gone up for us significantly, and so we are budgeting to just barely break even. $9,000 over 24 million or 25 million is just basically a break even. As you can kind of see, when we budgeted last year, we budgeted about 104,000, and if this number doesn't change, if the stocks don't go up, it's going to be a loss of about $4 million this year. It could turn around and it might not be. There's no way to know what the stock market's going to do at this point. It's bouncing all over the place. But anyway, it's basically a flat budget. You guys asked me, what does that mean to you? Well, primarily that means that there's going to be a monthly fee increase for all residents of 5%. So welcome to the age of inflation. That primarily has to do with the staffing costs. We are giving a 5% across the board raise to all staff next year. And we gave 6% this year. And it's primarily because we're trying to find people and we're kind of trying to keep people. It's that tight of a labor market, and it's very challenging for us to do that. The other thing that's driving inflation, the biggest thing that's driving inflation is the cost of fuel, gasoline, transportation, those kinds of things. And the cost of gasoline has gone up a lot. Now, if you don't drive very much, you don't notice that. But if you drive a lot, and like our people who come to work, or our vendors who ship product to us, those costs have gone up, and they're passing those costs along. And it appears they're passing along and taking a little bit of a margin. And so that's made those costs go up all the way through for us. We'll see what happens with how that works out, but energy, labor costs, professional services, all the way across the board, everything has moved up significantly this past year and into next year. When we wrote the mortgage contract, and I talked to you last year, when we were going into 2022, we had a fixed price with Morrison that we'd already negotiated before inflation got going very much, and so we were locked in, and that made it for a very good year. They're catching up a little bit this year. It's a little bit tougher negotiation to do that. So that's kind of why the costs are. So that's across the board. Somebody asked me tonight, what does that mean about meals? There will be a rise in the cost of meals, but to tell you the truth, I can't remember exactly. I have to go back to talk to Jackie about it. And next Thursday, I will be meeting and talking to the residents similar to this, about this, and I will have all of that information for you to give you an idea of what the breakdowns are to do those kinds of, for those costs for next year. But that's kind of where we're at this particular time. Questions about that at all? So a couple things. So this past board meeting, and I just want to kind of put this in your ear just to talk a little bit. This past board meeting, Atherton has been talking for a while about the possibility of reducing the size of skilled nursing. And the reason that we're talking about reducing the size of skilled nursing is two or threefold. Number one, that all the communities around us who have skilled nursing in their community seem to be doing that. And it's because the regulations have gotten increasingly burdensome and difficult. Most of you are aware of what happened during COVID, right? We locked down skilled nursing, no family could go in. It was more so than any other part of our organization. And it was extremely frustrating. Those folks got lonely. It got very difficult for everyone as a whole. It was a very difficult experience. The second thing is that's driving this idea, and it's driving other communities like Atherton to consider this, is that most people who live in these communities, even if you live in these communities, nobody's looking forward to going to skilled nursing. You know as a whole that it may be the place you need to go when you need help. You're well aware of that, and you're glad for the resource to be there. You just hope that time never comes. So here's the question we've begun to ask. Could we do it different? Could we figure out a way to care for people when they have those kinds of needs without having them in skilled nursing? Could we do it regulatorily? Could we do it in as well, but at a lower price point? So that instead of paying $300 a day for a bed, you were paying $6,000 a month for a room. Could we do it better and differently? And all of these communities are beginning to ask that question. Maybe there are ways to do this that we have not thought of. Increasingly skilled nursing, I will tell you, is becoming more clinical and medical. It's because it's run by the Department of Public Health. And they're the same organization that runs your hospitals. And they tend to fall into the medical model, and so they push that very hard, all the way down the line. And when you, and they fix everything based upon that. As a whole, we have medical services, that's part of the reason why you came here, quick access to medical services. But what you're really looking for is a home, a residential setting that has access to medical. You're not looking for a hospital that has access to residential. And we're beginning to rethink that. And part of that rethinking is to say, could Atherton exist with a small skilled nursing? And if so, how small would that have to be? Because we turn some of those rooms around and make them into what we would call enhanced assisted living and provide some of the same services for people in assisted living that we might have done previously in skilled nursing. And that's what we're trying to wrestle with. And so one of the things we did was we spent some time this past summer saying, what could we get to where we could still do a good job in skilled nursing? And we think that we could reduce the size for skilled nursing from a 99 bed to a 69 bed. And we think we could take many of the rooms that are now being occupied by skilled nursing residents and make those assisted living rooms and do that in a better kind of way and allow that. So that Atherton, instead of 32 assisted living units, would have 42. I mean 52 assisted living units and only 65 skilled nursing beds. And so we're beginning to think about, could we do that? Would we do that? There's a community that's not too far from us up in Pasadena by the name of Monte Vista Grove. And last year, it delicensed all of its skilled nursing beds and turned them all into assisted living. And the residents who lived in skilled nursing did not move. They all became residents of assisted living. But they had the same prognosis, they were in the same places that they were. But now they were being served in a different way to get all of their needs met in a different way. Not in the Department of Public Health, but social services, they were living in assisted living. The cost went down for them, and the ability to care for them went up as a result of the staffing. So they were able to work through all of those issues. And they're still in that. And so when we heard that, we said, is that not possible? Could we do that also? To do that. If we come to you and say, we see that you need more services, could we do that? Would you think about going into assisted living? We'd like that more than when we come to you and say, we think you need more services, we're going to have to move to skilled nursing. It seems like it's a win-win for everybody. So we're beginning to say, what would it take for us to get there? How could we do it? How could we live with that? Where could we be with that? So that's one part of the discussion that we talked about at the last board meeting. The next part is that we realized that in order to do that, we're going to have to do major renovations of both the villa and of Jocelyn. Because Jocelyn would be the place where we would house those enhanced assisted living places. Those would be the rooms. And so we were going to have to do some major renovations with that. What we discovered is that the villa has its major systems that all need to be reworked and done. The building was built in the 1960s. All the plumbing, all of the electrical, all of the stuff, all of the lighting, all of that is basically 1960s, early 1960s architecture. And most of you know, if you live for 60 years, things begin to wear out. Right? And so we just think that we're going to have to make a major investment in that in order to get there. And so we began to talk about what it's going to take for us to get there. So that's a big piece of those kinds of things that we're talking about and trying to find things. We did have a couple board nominations. I wanted to make mention of a couple. Kevin Cho, who has served on our board, decided he would do another term. We're very thankful for that. We've added two new board members, Mr. John Keys and Ms. Linda Walvis, both of those are members of Temple City First Baptist Church. We're very glad to have them. We have Dale Montgomery, who is going to serve as our chair again for another year. Mr. Warren Williams will be our vice chair. I don't know if any of you know him. And then Mr. Steve Garcia, who's head of 1,000 Pines, will become our finance chair. We had two of our board members that went off. They served 12 years, and they were going off, and that was Mr. Rick Linsel, Mr. Tom Gardner, and thank you very much for their service. And then we lost another board member, Reverend Matt Barnes, who was pastor of First Baptist Alhambra, resigned because he took a new position in Kentucky. And Atherton does not normally pay for community with our board members. Back and forth for it. And it's I really feel like that our board members need to come and be on campus on a regular basis rather than do things over online all the time. And so that's a part of that. Atherton can have as many as 15 board members. It currently has 11 board members, which is the minimum number we need. 9 of those 11 are part of either Transformation Ministries or Apple Flash. We're required to have 60% of our board members that are members of those churches, so we're well within that range and doing fine according to our guidelines. All right. Any questions about anything? 2 minutes. Messed up as a Baptist. All right. Well, if you do have any questions, please contact me. Please let me know. I'm more than happy to talk to you about anything that we're looking at, thinking about, or trying to do. And I will try and keep you as informed as well as I can. We're going to try and do some kind of a dedication for 719, 721 when it gets all done. And I know that many of you would like to see when we just walk through it, look at it, and see what it is. It would be better if we don't do it now. Okay. But I know that we're going to try and look somehow where we can do something like that. But we're very pleased the project's moving ahead like fine. We're hoping to get done with everything. Yes, Todd?
On behalf of, I'm the resident representative of the board, and I see all the work you all do. If voluntarily, I just want you to know how pleased we are that you work so hard.
I think we have a great board. Those people really care. They really pray. They do a great job. I think we have a great staff here. I'm especially appreciative of our management team and all the different things that have to be covered. Jackie does a great job as CFO. Angela's great. Our CFP administrator, Kimberly, does a great job at helping us raise money. Leo's now come on as operations administrator and is learning more and more about the operations of Atherton, covering a lot of ground. And then I believe Joelle and Jean is going to be a great speaker administrator. What a wonderful heart, great understanding of that business. You keep her in your prayers. She's trying to get her hours in, and then she's going to have to pass some tests. But we're so looking forward to getting through that. But I think she's going to do a great job. Yes, sir. So you're asking me about Jessica. So Jessica has been out. She was here and she twisted and hurt her knee. It didn't heal where you should hope. So she had to have some surgery, and she's still on leave while that continues to heal. I haven't heard, we were asking about that today, but I haven't heard anything out of her. Status is on leave because that's what the doctor has said until healing, and I hope that she's back soon. That's it. Yes, sir.
If you take the stairs out that go up to the apartment up above Hannah's,
Yes.
does that mean that apartment is gone?
Well, so the question is, if we take the stairs out, does those mean those apartments are gone? Those apartments are not licensed for residents. Okay, so they're just guest units. It does not mean those apartments are gone. Those stairs actually weren't put in legally. So they can go, but actually there is a back stairs, and we're actually going to create something out of the front in case there's a fire, kinds of things, but it won't change we'll change how we use. We don't use any of those for residents. We have a few employees that have lived up there for the last couple of years, just simply because of what happened during COVID and where their families wanted. And every once in a while, we use one of those for some guests that we do up there. But that's basically, they're going to continue to do that.
Okay.
All right. Well, again, thank you very much. Have a great night. God bless.